on how to be safe. Okay. So, as police, our main job is to make sure that the community is safe. We work with, in the police force, there's many different types of units that work together that, to make sure that the community is safe. And so today, So first off, we'll just be talking about just your basics, like protecting yourself when you're out and about. So especially when a lot of people, how does everyone travel? Like, do they use public transport? Do they drive or?
Yeah,
Drive?
got the train.
Train.
Drive. Got a taxi.
Oh, taxi, very good. Yeah. Okay, so.
Taxi, yeah, I've got a taxi as well. Yeah, trains. People driving.
Okay. Yeah, very good. So, obviously, at the with your public transport, there's obviously trains, there's ferries, there's buses. So, especially on the trains, a lot of people use the trains because it's quite convenient. But just to keep safe when using trains, has anyone ever seen the blue light on the on one of the carriages before on the train? You have?
Yeah.
So that blue light on one of the carriages indicates that there's a train guard in that carriage or in that part of the train. So if you were to ever travel at night or if you're by yourself, you can always go sit in that carriage because you know that's going to be a bit more safer because you know that there's a train guard there. But yeah, if you were to travel at night, it would be best to travel together rather than by yourself, because most crime trends do happen at night time, and if you can, stay in like well lit areas and where there's a lot of people too. Okay. Yeah. So, and also on buses too, same thing applies. Instead of waiting at the bus stop for a long period of time, just see if you can make sure what time your bus is actually coming, so you don't actually have to stand there for too long, because then you can just pretty much get straight on the bus. Obviously on the bus there's a bus driver. The same thing goes with ferries, because we see a lot of where vulnerable people are targeted by criminals. Okay, they'll kind of pinpoint someone that's like isolated and by themselves. Okay. In saying so, with banking, does everyone still go to the bank to either take out money or deposit money?
I still go to the bank.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so with banking, I know, a lot of people, even my grandmother, when she was around, she used to go to the bank at always a certain time and date, like every day of the week. She always go on the Wednesday in the morning to the same bank, and she always used to either withdraw or even deposit money. So instead of making a habit of going regularly on the same day and time, try and mix it up a bit. Because what criminals would do is kind of, in a sense, hang around the banks and they kind of canvass and they'll make notes about who's coming in what times, okay? Especially a bit more vulnerable people. All right, we had this incident a while back where at the Commonwealth Bank just on Burwood, there was this male POI or criminal was just in a sense loitering around the front of the bank. And then what he did, he saw like an elderly lady. He watched her go into the bank, withdraw a bit of money, okay, and then he noticed she put the money in her bag. Once that happened, so the staff members at the bank kind of noticed this male being a bit suspicious. So the staff kept an eye on this elderly lady. And she walked out of the bank and they asked her if she was okay walking back to her car or the bus, and she said it was fine. But then they still kept an eye on her as she was walking up the road, that male POI or that male person ran past and bag snatched and took her bag. So at that time, there was members of the public too that tried to intervene. They obviously called 000, but then we managed to get that person and get the lady's bag back. Okay, so in saying so, yeah, so try and mix up that routine if you were to still go to the bank or withdraw money. Try not to withdraw large amounts of money, okay? And a lot of people tend to put the money in one spot, like in their bag or their pocket. If you can, separate maybe a bit of half or a quarter in your pocket or a quarter in your bag. So worst case scenario, if your bag was to get taken, that they're only taking a small portion of what you've taken out rather than all of it, okay? And if you can, try not to count the money. Like I know a lot of people, once they get a large amount of money, they like to count it. Try not to count it in the view of everyone, okay? So maybe just put it straight in your bag and go home and possibly count it. Yes, I know, like my grandmother did the same thing. She always used to count the money and just to double check, even though it's the bank giving her the money, but just to, I don't know why, she didn't trust the bank people, but she always used to do it. Yeah, and so, but if you were to ever be in that situation where a possible bag snatch or something, or someone is trying to take something from you, try not to get involved into like a physical confrontation and fight back, okay? Because at the end of the day, when you report it to police, because some, you know, yourself or someone, members of the public, you know, your safety is paramount, okay? And you know, the money and your property, that's just tangible, you know, but like I said, your safety is a priority. And always, if you can, for the police, remember what that person looks like. Okay, I know it's hard in that situation of, you know, in shock and, you know, obviously being confronted by someone like that. But if you can, just stay calm. Okay, like I said, don't get too physical and fight back, and just report it to police. Okay, so going shopping, a lot of people, if you can, go together. Like I mentioned before, that's also like the public transport. Okay, because same things, these criminals will target people that are shopping, and a lot of the time, you know, people put their bags or their handbags in the trolley and push the trolley around, and you know, criminals, that's an easy target for them. You know, they'll literally walk past and bag snatch straight out of your trolley, okay, and take your bag, because you might be looking around the shopping centre, you know, turn away for a couple of seconds and your bag could be gone, okay? So if you can, you know, just try hold it on your person, okay? But if you were to put it in a trolley, you know, you can always buy those, what are those called? Those hooks, yeah. And you can literally tie it onto the trolley or the pram, just so if it was to happen, it kind of prevents them. And then obviously, you know, you would see that confrontation, or someone might notify you, and then the criminal could just be startled and walk away or run away. Okay. All right. So yeah, we talked about traveling. Yeah. So we're traveling too. So obviously, people traveling in driving cars. Okay. When you park your car, try park it in a well-lit area where there's a lot of people, because these criminals too, what they usually do too, especially at night time, they'll walk around to all the cars parked on the street, and they'll just walk past and try to open the doors, okay, just to see, you know, if that person, you know, maybe unlocked their car or left it open, so it's just an easier target. And also, if you do park your car on the street or even in the driveway, try not to leave any valuables in the car lying around, because you know, if they could see that you have like a mobile phone, your laptop, iPad laying around in the vehicle, your wallet too, what they'll do, they'll literally, if they can't open the door and it's obviously locked, they'll either smash the window and still try to manage to take your belongings, okay? And a lot of people don't really have, there's no real cameras unless you have a dash cam, which is very good if you do have a car, because that is like, nowadays the dash cams, if any minor like movement to the car, it will start recording even though your car's not on, and potentially capture the criminal walking away if you have the front and rear camera. Okay, so if you can try park it where it's well lit. Try and lock your doors at all times whilst you're driving, because a lot of there's people that literally carjack. I'm not too sure if you've seen it on the news. People even attempt to, even if you're in the car, you know, there was an incident at the petrol station where this gentleman tried to open the lady's door and steal her car. So, but her car door was locked at the time, and out of frustration, that male criminal kicked the door and, you know, threatened her to get out of the car, and if not, he was going to do certain things, but the door was locked and she was safe inside. So if you can, whilst driving, just always lock your door. Even when you're feeling fuel, you know, it's only a short period of time. By walking into the petrol station and coming back out, something might happen, so just lock it, because a lot of people tend not to lock it. If you always remember your keys to lock the door too, because a lot of the time people forget their keys. You know, even some of the police tend to, on like after a long shift, leave their keys in the car. But luckily their car's not stolen. But you know, if you were tired and you do forget, but just try to remember, because nowadays a lot of cars are push button start. If you do have one of those push button start cars. Also, if like to have a torch in the car too, maybe it's convenient if you were to travel at night and just coming back, and when you're leaving and coming back, you have a torch, just so it's a bit more handy for you.
I just want to add, we're seeing a lot of step on a vehicle offences rise, so it's increased. So we just want to put everyone on high alert and to be vigilant about their personal property and the safety of the vehicle, and not to give opportunity to offenders.
Yeah, do the next.
Done. Is that
we did that, yeah.
Did that already?
Personal alarms. So, has anyone heard of these personal alarms before? Or seen or know anyone that owns one? Oh, you have?
Got one?
Yeah.
I thought
Oh.
you told me about this.
Yeah.
Very good. So these, yes, they won't, in a sense, kind of prevent anything from happening, but it's like a way, if something was happening, you can literally turn on the alarm. Okay, they can come in forms of a necklace, a brooch, you know, you can even have them on your keys. So if you do press it, it just, honestly, it emits a loud noise and attracts people's attention.
Yeah.
And then they'll kind of, you know, because the first thing they'll do is to see what's happening, okay? But yeah, so you can get those, and they are out there. Yeah. Okay, so your basic safety tips at home: always make sure your doors and locks, all your doors, windows are locked before you go out and you leave home. Okay, if you can, there's a lot of ways to make your home a bit more safer. You know, there's now, have you heard of CrimSafe before? They make fly screen doors that are quite strong, so even if people try to kick it, because a lot of the time when you're at home, you'll try to open the door and get some fresh air, and there's that fly screen, that's like a form of protection. You know, you can upgrade your locks to your door, okay? And even the peepholes, they're a bit more like old school, but the peepholes in the doors, a lot of people like to get them, because if someone's knocking on the door and you don't really have visual of who's outside, everyone just tends to open the door. Okay, so but that peephole is like you still have that protection between you and whoever's outside, and you can still see that person. Okay, another good way is to have one of those chain locks. So those chain locks, you probably see if you do open the door, that chain kind of prevents for the door to not open completely. That's another, just in a sense, a barrier between you and that person too, because a lot of the time you've probably seen on the news some people, you know, they get targeted for like home invasions. They'll just knock on the door and then they'll confront who that person is, like, you know, use force to move that person, and they'll just make themselves go in. okay? And we don't want that to happen. Other ways is lighting, getting good sensor lights, so if the sensor light detects movement outside the house, it lights up the whole area, which is a very good deterrent, okay? And another one is obviously getting CCTV cameras. CCTV cameras, yes, they are a deterrent, but if someone does, or if anything does happen to your property, okay, you can at least capture that person committing that offence, and then you can pass that information on to police, and obviously we'll try ID and try to get that person, okay? I did a course not long ago, so in this course they did like a survey with some of the criminals in jail that are well known for break and enter into homes, and they did like the experienced crooks and also the ones that don't have much experience breaking into homes, and they showed that what is the most attractive for a home and what is the least attractive. Okay, so the most attractive for them to actually target a home for a break and enter is literally a wealthy suburb or like a wealthy looking house. Okay, that's because in their minds, they think breaking into that home, they have a bit more of valuable items that they can, if it's worth going into, okay? And the biggest deterrent for the whole, for all these criminals was noise and light, okay? So even barking of dogs, okay? Even noise like in the house with the TV. So pretty much just some sort of, like showing that there's someone inside. That's kind of a big deterrent for them. And that was the main thing that kind of deterred them away from breaking and entering into that home. Okay, so it's quite funny, how it's like that. And also, they said luxury vehicles too, of being parked outside in front of the house. Okay, they like to target those cars, and you've probably seen on the news now too a lot of these younger criminals or these youths that have been breaking into homes and stealing cars. It's even in Queensland and Victoria, it's quite a big issue, and also in New South Wales. Especially in Burwood, our experience is they like to come to where the nice peninsula areas, so the wealthy suburbs, because they know it's worth taking the bit more expensive cars. And what we heard was these young groups used to steal these cars and then sell them to like organised crime groups. So these organised crime groups can use those stolen cars for, committing further offences. All right. So, and another thing. So with that, it's crazy. So as our technology, it gets more advanced in fighting crime. So does theirs. So the criminals have, their technology is also growing too. Okay. So for example, these young kids now have what we call like an amplifier. So, like I mentioned before, a lot of cars now are push button start, and it's a keyless car, so all you need to do is walk up and you can open the door. Okay, so what these criminals, like these young kids do, they get this amplifier, stand next to the house, and it will amplify the key signal to the car, and then they can still manage to open the car even though the key's inside your house. So it's so like I mentioned, their technology is growing, and they're not in a sense actually breaking into the home, but they still, yes, they're using the signal from your key, amplifying and getting into the car, and then they take off, okay? And now we heard these kids now are pretty much doing it for fun, and they're just going on joyrides, which is quite silly because, there's a lot of dangers driving a vehicle at high speeds, and, no seat belts and breaking all the road rules, okay?
Sorry. These are some examples.
Yeah, so these are some of the examples like I mentioned.
Cost effective.
Yeah, so it's quite cost effective, and just the minor stuff could prevent your home from potentially being broken into. Okay. So like I mentioned before with your home visitors, so people that you don't know that are knocking on your door, okay, because we've had a lot of issues in the past where a lot of these criminals used to dress up as either working for Telstra, contractors, you know, and pretty much being quite deceptive and, you know, like speaking to the people and trying to get money off them. Okay, so with these, try not to, you know, pretty much don't trust anyone that comes to your door unless you know that person. Okay, we'll cover off on those con artists. Yep. Yeah, here we go, the con artists. So like I mentioned, these con artists, you know, they'll come dress up as wherever, and then they'll like literally try scam you for money. We had this one big criminal group, so what they were called the Irish, they're all Irish, and what they did was they'll dress up as contractors and they'll target elderly, vulnerable people, and then they'll knock on their door and they'll say that, yep, we're contractors and we notice there's a bit of damage on your roof. Because how often do people actually go onto the roof and check for damages? Like quite rarely, you know. So they'll knock and say, hey, your roof needs repairs and we're happy to fix your roof for X amount of dollars. Yes, you can get quotes from other places, but we are quite cheap. And then that vulnerable person will believe that that con artist, and literally then maintenance and all those funds are being transferred. And a couple of like weeks pass, they come back and say, hey, we need more funds because we notice there's more damage to your roof. Okay, and that criminal group actually conned a lot of people and managed to get, I think it was over like $200,000 from all these different elderly people especially, and believing that they'll do it. What happened, and then literally their roof is in a shamble because they pretended to do work, and then and then they pretty much just leave. Like they're just gone. Once they take the money, they're gone. And what they'll do too is that they'll squeeze as much money as they possibly can until they get caught or they catch on that person. So just be aware of all that. And now a lot of issues nowadays is frauds. Who gets calls all the time from frauds?
Text messages.
Like text messages, calls, anything. So that's a big issue now because a lot of people are getting, in a sense, scammed through this way. So how to protect yourself from, you know, fraud calls or text messages? Obviously, first off, don't share any of your personal information to anyone that is calling you. Okay, you know, and always, and what sometimes these voice calls or text message or voicemails even that are left, they're kind of like an automated, like a comment or a phrase, and majority of the time they'll most likely know your name already. Okay, so they'll ask, are you William? You know, and your first response will be yes. Okay, a lot of these, what these frauds or these people, the scammers will do is then now they have your voice recognition of your voice saying yes. So then, because nowadays, like I said, you can do everything online or on the phone, and they have you saying yes in your voice, and now they can literally open up accounts or you know, loans where it's you, but they have your voice saying yes. So try not to say anything if you do get these calls, and obviously if it's automated, just hang up. Okay. Sometimes they'll ask if you're from they're from NBN and all that stuff, and say, hey, you need some work done to your house. Is this you? Is this your, and all that stuff. Just don't respond because majority of the time they, you know, if they were to do work, they'll either send you even a letter, okay, or if you want to double check, just hang up that phone call and call them directly, okay, and then just ask if there is any work done to your property. Okay, just always double check. All right. Also, has anyone received any text messages lately about your package being delivered, but they couldn't find you, or anything like that? Yeah.
Yes, quite often, yes.
Even emails, you know, that say you're from the post office, or even from like Telstra stuff, that you have X amount of fees that you need to pay, or you're behind. And there's even a recent trend with your e-tag, the people that have e-tag or e-toll, like, you know, that the text message went through to everyone saying, "Yep, you need to pay this fine. You've gone through this tunnel." Okay, and a lot of people click on that link, okay, or that just to go pay that fine. They fall for it because obviously from eToll, Link T, it's quite a big company, and you assume, oh yeah, you're probably right, because I do use that motorway.
Yes, I've been getting those.
Yeah, and a lot of people are even falling for that. So with these emails and text messages, when they send that link to you, majority of the time they might have what we call malware, which is malicious software. This malicious software, even if you just click the link, it will be now on your phone or on your laptop. And then if these hackers or these scammers, then they could potentially, with that malware, access all your information that you have on your phone and on your computer. So if you do see anything suspicious, okay, obviously don't click on the link straight away or open up that email. Okay, for example, like I said, the e-tag one, if you got it, just always triple check and call them directly and say, hey, this is what I got. Can you just double check? All right, because we see a lot of people falling for it. And has anyone received that text message saying, hey mum, I've kind of lost my phone, can you send me some money, to this account, because I don't have just to buy some groceries, for example? Did anyone receive that? Yeah, it's quite sad, yeah.
Yes.
And some people, obviously your loved one, they get fall for it because, oh yeah, my loved one, it seems like they're in trouble. Hey, I'll just send that money. Because a lot of the time they might just text back and say, oh, are you okay? Is everything all right? And they just might respond back and say, because they pretty much then now baited you. And then they're like, yeah, I'm fine, I just need some money. And then what's the first instinct you're gonna do as a loving parent is send money to your kid if they're asking, for money. So don't fall for that. If you do get those texts, just maybe double check and call your son or daughter directly and just see if everything is okay, rather than just responding and making sure, it's like, oh yeah, no worries, I'll do it. Okay, because it's a bit off.
This website
Yeah.
that they can put their mobile number on to avoid
Yeah.
to them.
So there's this government agency, that have a do not call register. So with that, if you sign up to the agency or the do not call, what that does is kind of filter out all the phone calls, like the fraud phone calls that are coming from Australia. So, but the issue is they don't really cover or filter out the ones coming from overseas. Okay, so if you want, we can help you, sign up to that, and then you can get your phone number or your friends and family, so they can kind of prevent, a lot of fraud calls, but not all of them, but just the ones coming from Australia. Okay, and a lot of these scammers too with the phone calls. Has anyone heard of spoofing before? Spoofing?
Yep.
Oh, you have? So spoofing is where the phone number that's shown on your phone is not from that actual number. So they can literally change the number that is shown on your phone to make you believe that they might be from, some like an agency somewhere, but it's not actually the direct number. So it is quite scary of how smart these hackers and scammers are. Because I had this one guy come into the police station once, and he said he got a phone call from NSW Police Station. Okay, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, the number showed, and he Googled the number, and it actually said NSW Police Station. So what these hackers did, or these scammers, was they pretended to be police, and they say, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah from the police station. You have this, you have to come in, pay this X amount of dollars. Obviously, police don't ask for money like that. And he was obviously a bit scared, so he just listened to whatever that person said, and then he realized he got scammed. And then he came into the police station. He actually showed me the number, which is the actual police station number, which was quite scary. And plus, I was like to him, I told him that police usually, if they do call, it's on a private number. Our landlines don't really show, but he obviously didn't know that, so he got scammed. And his scam was they made him go to Coles and buy gift cards. And like he spent $500 on gift cards, and he was a bit confused. And he's like, but that's when he clicked that, yeah, I'm being scammed. Like, why would the police ask me to buy gift cards? You know? So that's when he came in and reported it. So yeah, so it is quite scary what they have. So just be mindful. Yeah.
So how did you know who the number was?
On his phone, we couldn't really tell what the actual true number he was using was, because like I said, the actual phone number showed on his phone was Ashfield Police Station. So it is quite scary. Like I said, they are quite smart, and if these hackers and scammers know what they're doing, they can literally do all that to trick the person to getting money, okay, or doing what they want.
This is just more about the website.
Yeah.
So they can go home and have a look.
Yeah. Okay, so going back, so on the topic of scams, a lot of nowadays, these criminals, instead of going out and physically committing crime, like doing break and enters or robbing banks and all that kind of stuff, it's easier for them to just sit at home and now use a phone, computers, just to scam people, okay? Because then they don't actually have to physically do much, okay? And then if they manage to find a victim that's willing and they believe that the hacker or scammer, they can squeeze literally all their money that they have, okay? And it is quite scary. And some of these are the top 10 scams that get reported quite often. So the first one is a dating and romance scam. This scam is where these online people will try to get in touch with a certain person and make conversation. Say they're might be overseas or from another state, and then build that relationship with that person over time. Okay, and then that scammer, pretending to be like a male or female, will make the victim start to send funds. Say, hey, my family's having issues, do you mind sending me a bit of money? Okay, and this is quite, it's quite a big one. And like I actually, myself, there was this elderly gentleman that came into Burwood Police Station. He came in and he said he's reporting someone missing. And I was like, okay, so no worries. So I started just grabbing details and then just hearing the story a bit more. And then he said, yep, I met this, my girlfriend online. I was like, okay, no worries. What's your girlfriend's name? Got all that. And he's like, yep. I'm like, so have you ever met your girlfriend before? And he's like, no. I'm like, have you called or spoken to her on the phone before? He's like, no. And I'm like, how long have you been, in a relationship with this person? And he said, over a year. I was like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, I used to send her money on a weekly basis. So he used to, out of his own pension money that he was receiving, I think half of it was getting sent to her. But the way the scammer or hacker mentioned was like, can you send it into my uncle's account? And it didn't make any sense. And he's like saying, yeah, I kept sending it to her uncle because she has like a kid, all this situation. And then out of the blue, that scammer or hacker stopped speaking to that elderly man. And then that's why he said he came to report a missing person. But I still like took the report and managed to listen to what he said, but then still I kind of advised him, so it sounds like you are possibly getting scammed or frauded, but in his mind, he was like obviously in that relationship and he built that trust with that person, and he was still adamant that she was a real person, but literally all his funds was gone. Like literally for a whole year, taking half of his pension, and never ever like telling to meet up or organise even a phone call, nothing. And then I kind of felt sorry, but like I advised him. But like I said, once they're in that mindset, with the dating and romance, and they're in that relationship or in love, it's hard to, a lot of people just fall for it. Then we have like the investment scams. So these are the ones where you receive like an email saying there's an investment opportunity. We need X amount of dollars and you can have X amount of dollars in return. Okay, so first a lot of people do it, and then they be like, yep, we'll send you, this is your $1,000 for the week. And they, in their minds, are like, oh, I invested 10 grand, I'm getting $1,000 in a week. It sounds awesome. So they invest more money, and next thing you know, that person's gone. So it's an easy one. So the threat and penalty scams, that's where if you, like, they might call and say there's a warrant out for your arrest, or the ATO is looking for you. Has anyone received those phone calls or text messages before? Yeah, I even got one myself. They said that the police were looking for me because I have an arrest warrant. And I was like, but I work for the police. Like, I don't know why. The police were looking for me. But yeah, so I got that. So I just deleted it. I knew it was a scam, but yeah, it was quite funny, coming to me. So those kind of scams, unexpected money scams.
Got the little back book.
Yeah, we got the prize and lottery scams. So all this is like covered in that little black book, like out the front here. But the lottery scam is quite funny because a lot of people fall for it, where you get an email saying you've won a prize overseas, like in Spain or some other country, and they say, oh yeah, well, I've won 100 grand, but you have to pay $10,000 to actually get that money. People actually come report this. Like, I don't know, even though I asked them, did you ever put in buy a ticket or some sort of like, anything to do with that lottery over there, and they say no. But that's what, and they realise after then and then when they set the money that they've been scammed, which is a bit too late, because unfortunately those funds are most likely not going to come back, to the victim, and they're gone.
My dad was a victim of that.
Yeah. We have the online shopping and auction scams. Like I said, the scams targeting computers and mobile devices. Identity theft, which is quite big, and job employment scams, and the charity and medical scams. So just always be, like I said, mindful of the phone calls, the text messages, and even emails. If your gut feeling tells you it might be a scam, just don't click on it. And some of the times the spelling in these emails and text messages they're a bit off. They don't make any sense at all. So like I said, just don't click on them and just delete it. I spoke to a lady not long ago. There's a new scam saying her friends have been sending her an email or a text message saying, I have a photo of you, and obviously because it's her friend that's saying it, she's like, okay, and it's like, yeah, but if you don't want me to share this photo with everyone, you have to give me this amount of money. And she was a bit worried because, like, why is a friend saying that? So like I said, these people can manipulate that, or who's sending what. And I told her, obviously, if it's your true friend, I don't think your friend would actually do that to you in the first place. You can speak to your friend personally yourself, which, the friend said, no, that wasn't me. So that's how she realized it was a scam, but she didn't do anything. Okay, so if you do get any of those kind of things too, don't reply back or anything, and just come report these to police. Okay, so reporting scams to police. So there's this, on the New South Wales Police website, there is a fraud report, because that's what it's called. So before you come into the police station, if you can, print off that fraud report, put in all the details and all, pretty much the whole incident, what's happened, the amount of funds, as much info to the police in that fraud report, okay, and come to any of your local police stations and report the matter to them, okay?
These are just the booklet.
Yeah, and so, like I said, we do have some information booklets over there, so at the end of the...
This explains in detail the 10 common.
So at the end, you can pretty much have a quick read. They're good reads. Yeah. So next one here is: does anyone know or signed up to the Next of Kin program with the police?
No.
Oh,
Yes,
you have?
yes.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So the next of kin program is where you put obviously your details and your next of kin details, and this information is obviously on our police database. So if anything did happen to like yourself, that if we can manage to find out who the next of kin is and contact that person straight away. So it's a bit more. It's just easier for police because sometimes we go to homes and then we can't really find their next of kin. So it's a bit hard to notify, but this is very handy, and to sign up you do get a cool keychain. So I do recommend signing up to the next of kin program.
It also has the ability to put any medical alerts on there, and whether you require an interpreter as well. So it's a great opportunity to sign up.
Alright, so how do you call police? So obviously 000 for emergencies. We have 131 444. That's the.
So what do deaf use if it's
Yeah. I'll go straight to
Yep.
it. There you go.
So how to contact police with the hearing impairment? Okay.
Just letting you know, no one uses TTYs now.
Oh really?
No one uses them.
Oh,
They're not around. That's very old technology. Is it 106? 106 is the emergency for police, ambulance and fire? Is that right?
I will go back and check that. Forgive me.
Yes, I don't see saying 106.
106.
Oh, yeah, 106. Yes. It is perfect. Perfect.
So yeah,
Oh, there's for TTY?
Yeah. Oh, okay, so no one's using it. We will go back and notify our head office.
I have a number I can
You
give
do?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll update that. We don't want you to be disadvantaged,
yeah.
unable to call us.
Yeah, so when you do contact police, obviously try getting relaying that message through, using the keypads on the phone. There's, like I said, for emergencies, that's your basic 000, and then other services like we have the police assistance line. So when you call them, they're more for non-urgent matters. So let's say you've come back home and you realise you've lost your phone, okay, it's possibly, or it could have been stolen. Nothing is happening then and there. You just call that police assistance line, and then they'll make a report over the phone, or you can come into your local police station if that makes it a bit more convenient for yourself. There's also the Crime Stoppers number. Has anyone? So the Crime Stoppers numbers, what they do is if you want to report anything anonymously, let's say you live across a park, you always see a certain group of people hanging at the park at certain times, and they might be up to no good. So the Crime Stoppers number is there. You can report that, like I said, anonymously. Let police know that you see these young people hanging around at night. They might be up to no good. What they will do then, will send the report to the police station, and then get local cars just to maybe swing past around that time, just to see and suss out what might be happening. Okay, and like I said, sometimes your gut feeling might be right, and they could be up to no good.
We've got
Right, so
all the social pages.
yeah, this is our social media. That's our Burwood Pack Facebook page. For people that don't live in Burwood, there's every police station in that area. They will have a Facebook page that you can sign up to. Even Instagram. So sometimes with these Facebook pages, we upload like what's been happening around the community. Sometimes has anyone seen this offender? He's outstanding for a certain matter. Okay, but on the Burwood Facebook page, you can just see me and Lisa quite often doing a lot of stuff like this. So it's quite good to be a part of. Does anyone have any questions for? Yeah.
I'll make some notes.
Yep.
Are you going to nominate?
Yeah.
So you're talking about emergency services is 000,
Yeah.
but for deaf people who can't
Can't use TTY.
who do that, and they need to go through the relay service for any phone calls, and they don't have family members there who can make the phone call. Is there an SMS number that they can use in the case of an emergency?
This is a good question. It's probably one that we've not.
For people who aren't able to get through.
I will have to go back and get a check. Yeah. So we don't know until we come out to communities and
So
find out.
000 is only for voice calls, isn't it? It's not for SMS, isn't that right? So we need a separate one for SMS, so straight away we can get through to fire, ambulance, any emergency. We need something for deaf people to text.
We'll take it and make it a priority to make sure we get one set up, or we may already have one which we're not aware of.
Okay, great.
Who do I give that information to so that everyone here gets it?
So the National Relay Service is very good. The NRM. Oh, sorry. The NRMA actually has a text line themselves for any emergency, like roadside assistance.
Okay.
But as far as we know, the emergency services, the 000 one, they don't have it. Yeah, so if you needed help, it'd be so much better to have a quicker way to get through, obviously on a text.
Leave that with me. I'll be my priority to find.
Thank you.
That'd be great, thank you, I'd really appreciate it.
Is there a network that we can give the information to once I've got it? It's unfortunate that we have to come out and we find out what the issues are.
You can pass it on to Bruce.
Yeah. Okay.
Is he
Perfect.
the one that you then correspond with?
I corresponded with my volunteer, who knows.
Yeah, we're just talking about where to get the information to.
Perfect. Got it.
Yeah. So, sorry, we weren't aware that they don't use the TTY anymore. Yeah.
It hasn't been used for about a decade or
Yeah,
so,
we're-
she's saying.
It's,
Yeah,
Because like I said, if we don't
everyone
really,
uses
we're
web-based
not really-
services.
Yeah, because we weren't. There's obviously not many police that have been exposed to, when the community like yourselves are called 000, and it is very important. Yeah, so yeah,
I just asked, when was the last time anyone has ever tried to use the TTY number?
No, it's non-existent.
Non-existent.
They don't use the TTY at all. We use the relay service.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to know this. I'll get back to them now and make sure we update and find a better way to get some communication. Dependent?
This is very good because it really alerts people very quickly. I've had no trouble with this. It's been very
Is he able to stand up and show the group that maybe that's one?
Or should we ask the lady?
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's for ambulance, fire, police, any kind of emergency. I just press the button and they turn up. That's it. That's all I have to do. It's the best thing, not having to worry about, worrying with the phone and sending messages. You just press the button. It's great.
And Bruce is saying, well, technology's improving all the time, so we'll have more access to those things.
It was funded by my NDIS.
Maybe he can connect them. If he can connect them.
So it's ambulance, hospital, fire, police, any emergency.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'd like to explain what happened to me. I'll just let you know what happened with me. A while ago, I was at home and my next door neighbour had some trouble, and I was not sure how I could help, and called 000. I texted 000 and waited for the police, who did come. So the police still came after texting.
What number did she text?
They tracked the phone.
They tracked her phone. So through the 000. Yeah, they were able to track the phone.
I just have a question for that. For everyone really, to update their address then, because that's how we find where the caller is. So get to your telephone provider and update your phone address.
Yeah. So they are able to track it. Yeah, they could see where my phone was, and so it was like a geolocation thing with my mobile phone. So they were able to work out where I was and help the person next door who was in trouble. Because if I don't have, the ability to do a video call or anything like that, there's also another organisation called Convo, and you're able to do video calls. So you could contact someone through them if you have an account with Convo, and they can call 000. But I only had my mobile phone, so all I did was multiple times, 3 times, I sent a message to 000.
That's very awesome. That's very good.
Hello everyone. Some people have a couple of interesting things that have happened. Vince has mentioned he's had the NDIS funding for his button thing, and someone else has mentioned Convo. But if you're over 65, we don't receive NDIS and we're not able to get Convo because it's very expensive for us. So we often don't have that as over 65s. So Vince is able to because he's younger, but we need some equality in our community because those of us who are over 65 are at a disadvantage. And we need the access as well. So I'm surprised to see that calling or texting 000 actually worked, but I'll keep the 106 in mind as well.
I can look into that because we do have an aged care crime prevention officer now, and that's probably something that we need to raise with them as a matter of urgency.
That's great, thank you.
Does anyone else?
Oh wait, when I was watching your talk, I didn't know, and to see that you didn't know that TTYs were now obsolete. So I suggest that the police themselves contact Deaf Connect, the organisation, and get some updates on the current state of the community and what our needs are, so that you have more of a partnership and understanding of what our community
Well, I 100% agree. I apologise, that we don't know this because, firstly, from my experience.
Oh, no need to personally apologise. That's fine.
Police, still adapting. Obviously, we're just used to what's happening, and obviously there is different, community groups out there with impairment. So this is obviously a high priority for us, for police to kind of find out. So we'll, yes, with that 000 text messaging, with that work, that still works. And like I said, if you can update your
I'm wondering about that. That seems a bit strange to me, but.
And then, like I said, police, we should get educated more on how to deal with certain communities in the community, to obviously try to get our services out to them. Okay, and like I said, we do apologise that we didn't know that this was gone for a decade now. So, but we still, and I will obviously and Lisa will speak to our bosses to kind of educate pretty much all the troops, and then pass that on to all these different police stations and commands, so we can obviously help and assist when you know, certain communities.
Great, thank you. All the best for the future, and contacting Deaf Connect to get
Yes,
updated
definitely.
information. That'd be great.
And we'll be probably
And also the New South Wales Police
Yes.
and Deaf Connect could work together,
Oh.
and that would be great to get the information out there.
and this is our starting point, you know. Now we'll obviously get work with Deaf Connect, like I said, to obviously educate the police force in relation to this, because you know, to assist people, you know, with hearing impairments. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I saw that list of 10 scams that you had there, and it mentioned the different ones, and I was wondering if something like that happened to me, should I go to the police station, or should I contact 000, or what's the best way?
Like I mentioned, the fraud report. The fraud report is the best way to report frauds, and bring that fraud report to the police station. Okay, and then the police will obviously take that report, and you know, using that, they'll generate a report with an event number, and then just always jot that event number down. It should start with an E. Okay, and then if you want any further updates with your matter, you can always just call the police station rather than attending, and just they'll keep you posted. But a lot of the time, people.
But another thing I wanted to ask, just recently, someone broke into my home, and I've got CCTV cameras. Someone had a balaclava on, and so you couldn't see who it was. So they broke in, no one could see what their face looked like. So what do you do in that situation?
So we also do have like fingerprint, and also like DNA.
They had gloves on.
So sometimes they could leave like, you know, it could, like, there is a possibility that they leave their DNA trace at the scene. Okay, but like I said, these crooks are getting smarter, and they will wear balaclavas, hoods, masks, all that. But we'll still, you know, even though they're not caught then and there, police do always manage to catch up to these kind of people.
One more last thing, I just wanted to ask you, please, asking the police, please be gentle with me. Please be more respectful when dealing with deaf people, especially, you know, they're not necessarily able to hear you approaching, and there's no need to be so harsh, because I've had that experience in the past.
Like I said, you do need to.
I love the police. I think you do a great job, but when the police are rough with us, it's not great.
So yes, like I said, we will do some more education and work with Deaf Connect to obviously, you know, work together to how to best handle situations. Because yes, you're right, where when police do just come on scene and they see you not listening, or you know, and they don't really know much about you. Okay, yes, they might take it and be quite confrontational to you to try to get your attention, but you know, but that's the thing. They need to be educated so they know what to look for, and obviously to work best with you, not against you, to, you know, assist you with what your the situation is. No worries.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry.
Probably never had an opportunity to see police, so
Yeah.
happy for them to ask their questions.
I just wanted to ask the police, what do you think about The lights in the way. I want to ask you, Felice, what do you think about internet security? Ah, okay. So like security companies,
like programs
you know,
that protect your computer.
yeah. Oh, right. Just in general, security programs on your computer to stop you being frauded online.
I can't recommend like what security company program to use, but there is a lot out there to you know, to prevent certain viruses and doing scans regularly to prevent, you know, deleting all that kind of stuff off your computer. But the thing is, like I mentioned, these scammers and crooks are getting smarter, and if you know what you're doing, they can literally create a new virus in like seconds. You know, for example, even drugs like cannabis and cocaine and meth and all that. On the drugs in the the Drugs and Misuse Act, there's literally lists all these drugs, but if you change one thing, it's not on there, then it's legal. So that's what they do. They literally just change a small bit of the virus, and then the program doesn't recognize that virus, so it still can be in. That's why they still try to update and get with what's out there. So I can't really, but it is hard, but it's just still like, it's still a catch up in a sense, because they're always bringing out new viruses, but these programs are being updated so they can block and delete those. So, but I do recommend still getting it. Yeah.
There's quite a few very good quality security programs. You just got to have a look at the reviews as well. So you can tell by the reviews of other customers that it's a really good program, and then just go through it. That's how I usually make my decisions.
Great, thank you very much.
This gentleman, he had a text message he wanted to show everyone. So
Yes, I'll just
everyone,
take my phone.
no worries. What was the other question? The lady behind had a question.
I was wondering, there's a street dead. What's the name? Oh, like a dead end. If there's a dead end street, thieves don't tend to like cul-de-sacs, dead end streets. Is that true?
So do you know that survey I mentioned about those criminals that are in jail? They did a survey what makes them more attractive. The cul-de-sac, it wasn't really like up there, as in it makes it more desirable. But in saying so,
Because it's harder to get out.
yeah,
That's
in
right,
saying
isn't
so, like it's not really like
It's not a
break-ins
thoroughfare.
too, but a lot of young people will go to a dead-end street and be up to no good. They might just hang out there because there's not many people there. They might possibly be doing drugs, or doing something up to no good. That's why they like those cul-de-sacs. But for break-in enters, yeah, like you said, it's a one way in and out. But it's not really will prevent them from doing it. Like I said, if they see you might have some valuables inside, they'll still manage to go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I have your attention, please? I received on my phone this particular thing saying that I hadn't paid my Telstra bill, and I always had my bill paid online as an automatic debit, and I had already had the bill, and I knew that it was already paid. So I looked at this particular number, and it's actually a different account number. It's not my account number. And then underneath it, it just says the bill number, and that was different to the bill that I'd had, so it was phony. And so, so the support which was this,
Showed an unknown email.
and we don't know who that is, at what, and you don't use AT, so we know that it was probably something from overseas, because it's an AT, it's not an AU,
That's right.
and so we know that it's not real, and so they're the things to look for.
So you've got to be your own investigator, and you come across when you email.
Very good.
That's right, that's right.
So it gave him the option to block it, so we've blocked it. It's currently blocked.
Yes, that's right.
But
I received this just last week, but however last night I was on the computer and my phone was ringing. It was a voice call, and I looked at it and it said it was Australia. It didn't sort of say who it referred to or who the call was coming. I just totally ignored it anyway, and I wouldn't have answered it. But yeah,
Ignore.
thank you.
Good. Thank you. You're welcome. So yeah. Okay.
yeah, and it's scary because it looks exactly like a Telstra sent email. Does anyone else, any other questions?
I've got a story. It's not a question. Is that all right?
It's a true story. About 7 years ago, sorry, I think it was about 7 years ago, I, at my home, the dog next door, the fence was a bit rickety, and the dog kept, was barking all the time, and it was frothing at the mouth and very dangerous. And I was quite concerned because I worked night shift. I didn't want the dog to actually bite me, and because I can't hear the dog. So as time went on this particular day, my husband said that the dog was barking. So I got on to TTY. At that time I did have the TTY, and I got in contact with Wentworthville Police Station and say, could you please come here to this particular street and number? And Parramatta Police said, so it went to Maryland. So the message transcribed over to 3 different police stations. So the police come in with their guns, and I'm waiting for such a long time, and I'm at the window, and my husband took off, and so I had actually, I told the kids playing around the corner to get out because the dog was quite dangerous. And so we were just sort of hoping that they would catch the dog, because there was all these children. So the police are there with the gun, and I'm sort of thinking, oh gosh, they should be catching the dog. Why aren't they catching the dog? And about an hour had passed, and I'm thinking, anyway, then somebody came and took the dog, and I said, why did you come? Well, by law, we can't go in somebody else's boundary and take somebody's property. Is that correct?
Yes, you can't.
Okay. But anyway, the dog's gone, thank God. So that was good.
Their dog or not their
No,
dog?
next door.
Next door neighbours.
Did you plan this?
No, I did enough time. I went over.
Okay. I know some of us are quite lonely women. We've got Facebook, or we've got Messenger. And can everybody see me? Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that you could see me. The light. You want me to move over a fraction, do you? All right. Is this okay? Okay, wonderful. Facebook or Messenger. And it can be that can be a trick in itself too, because I'm off communicating, especially on Messenger. Then all of a sudden, I got this message. Oh, hi. How are you? What are you doing? Oh, and I thought, oh. Then I went on to FaceTime, and I thought, they're not answering me. So I thought, oh, that's a hacker. So I just barred them. But if I go into FaceTime and they actually come up, then I know it's true. And so I then tend to report it when I have doubts. If something is like you want to in contact with romantic things, you need to make sure that you have face-to-face contact. If you've got friends, and they're related to that, introduce them in a face-to-face. Because if they're strangers, they will actually fool you. They can have a conversation with you, but in fact, they're fraudulent, and they're only just conning you. And the other thing too, a lot of deaf people, as you know, men, not just women, are alone as well, and they want contact people overseas because they're lonely and they're making this contact, and it's a regular contact, and it's going on time after time after time, and then all of a sudden we realise that they go overseas, or and they're being scammed, all their money's being taken, and and all this is happening, and a lot of deaf people are actually falling for this scam because they want company, they're lonely, and they don't realise that they're being taken advantage of. You need to be talking to a real person. You need to be seeing that person that you're talking to, just like you do when you're with a friend, and you've got to have that trust element. Don't put any trust in a strange person that you haven't met. Because people are so talented with their conning, and that they can con us all.
Karen?
I think we're running short on time. We can't have too many questions.
We have one more question. Then we'll have two more.
I think with the when you go and look your recycling, putting your bottles into those great recycling, and when I took a trolley over, and I could see through the window actually an Asian gentleman. He had a trolley and had bags and bags, and everyone was waiting and taking their turn, and he was outside in the gutter waiting. And this person sort of came through and started going through everything, and there was one particular house where with the yellow bin, he hadn't actually gone in. And so he just sort of thought that he would actually start going through somebody else's bottles, and I thought, oh gee, is that correct, or is that right? But I was here and he could see, and he was going through my bottles. Can I report him, because he was a bit brazen going through other people's trolleys and seeing what they had in the. It's probably people collecting. Yes.
So you can report that. So that's because they're, in a sense, to get to your bin, they'll be potentially trespassing, and then trespassing is an offence, and you can report that.
No, in this particular instance, my bin was actually on my property, not even on the driveway.
Yeah, and like we see this happen a lot. A lot of people do go around going into bins, taking those bottles.
Yes, because they want your bottles so they can get money to put them in the trolleys to go and get their money back.
So
Is that called a break-in or not?
No, so that'll just be more trespass. Because, like I said, police see this happen a lot, and these people are brave enough to go walk up to someone, up someone's driveway to where the bins are, take the rubbish out.
So if it's on the street, it's a bit different.
Yes. It is different. Like it's very hard because some people don't mind because it's just rubbish at the end of the day, and they don't mind it just being taken out if it's helping that person potentially pay, for.
Well, I don't particularly like it, so I've decided that my bins are not going out until till later on. I just think I don't want to encourage people on my property.
Like I said, it's potentially still stealing, because they're stealing your rubbish. Yes, but it's more so concern is the fact that they're coming on my property. Yes, that's it. Well, like I said, that you can report that.
Definitely call us if it's uncomfortable.
Okay, thank you very much.
The gentleman at the very back who really wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Okay, placement in place. Um, when I'm not comfortable or when I feel at risk is when I'm driving and you know, and a police might pull me over and you know the lights are going and I pull over and he comes up to the window and he starts talking to me, of course. Then I put the window down and I say, I'm sorry, I'm deaf. And then they start to get aggressive with me. And I keep saying to them, look, I'm deaf, I'm deaf, I'm deaf. And they're yelling and starting to yell. And then I'm trying to get pen and paper and they're getting very aggressive. So, you know, do I have to go like this and pretend to talk because I can't talk? And so it becomes quite, you know,
with
quite
that, is,
horrendous.
like I mentioned before, it's just the lack of education and the awareness that, you know, there's, you know, dealing with the hearing impaired. Like, you know, we have this with, you know, dealing with people with...
But the other thing
But I
is,
tell them I'm deaf.
I'm telling them that I'm deaf, I'm indicating it.
Just
Yeah.
for the
So it is quite, it would be quite frustrating, you know, and obviously I would totally
Maybe they
understand.
need some deafness awareness training.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's just a lack of education.
Yeah.
So we'll
that
get
in my
in
notes.
contact and obviously educated. But another handy thing is, like Lisa mentioned, maybe you can carry a piece of like a laminated card or something saying, you know, you are deaf. That it's a bit
I
more,
agree, that's
yeah,
a good idea.
it's a bit more easier for the police if you were to ever, you know, get pulled over to let them know. So then they won't, in that situation, get a bit more raise their voice to.
Well, that could be questionable because I wanted to write on pen and paper anyway.
Yeah, because sometimes they might deem it as like a threat or something, you know, but police,
Sitting
you
in the
know,
glass box is a threat.
every police officer is different and they assess things all differently. So, but I suggest maybe just
Yeah, I suppose you've got a point there.
So,
Yeah, you're
So
right.
just a laminated sign, just I'm deaf and police should have the common sense to say, okay, you know, we'll try and manage it another way.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, which is quite risky as well, in regard to a similar thing, was I was driving and I got pulled over and I got up and they got out of the car and they wanted me to put my hands up and I'm sort of, you know, and if I go to put my hand in my pocket to get that laminated sign or a pen and paper, I could get shot.
oh, of course, that's
A big piece left in the car and one on your person.
So, you know, it's a big risk that we take by trying to let people know when, you know, when we
of course.
that we
It
do.
happens in America, this
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
So when someone goes to get a pen out of their pocket and the police shoot them.
like even you know, we.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So even
But maybe it might be good if the police, we could go and get something that had a police emblem on it to say that we're deaf or something.
Do you have something? No.
So we can, it's even like people with autism, it's a bit hard because, you know, sometimes they might, because, you know, a bit impaired and the police dealing with them, but it's all about just educating the police force to, when it comes to dealing with people with a hearing impairment, just to obviously, you know, deal with that, you know, in the best that way they can. It's just a lack of education, which I 100% agree, it is very dangerous, you know, so I will be,
Yeah, I was frightened.
yeah, I would be too, you know, so,
Over 65, it's not
Which one
for them
is it?
to organise and check.
and I 100% agree, it's very dangerous, but like I said, I'll pass it on so our bosses can maybe do education a bit more with the police.
The large community.
Great, thank you very much.
No worries.
So we are-
I'm not sure. I was hoping if you can translate.
Yeah.
Just so it's
But Tina, can you just ask if everyone's happy for a group photo? Or if anybody who doesn't want a photo, maybe they can leave.
Yeah. Oh, and we have one more.
Oh, we've got one more question
This
here.
lady and this gentleman at the back here was putting his hand up.
what I wanted to ask is the police is that as a support worker, there was one time that a deaf person was under arrest, and what we found quite difficult was that while they were under arrest and cuffed in cuffs, they couldn't sign.
100%, yeah. That is a very valid point. Like I said, it's all about that education and that awareness that we have to teach the police force when dealing with, you know, the hearing impaired community. And obviously, people that sign language, yes, your hands are very important because that's the only way to communicate. And if you take that away from them, if they put them in handcuffs, so like I said, the police assess situations all differently. If you did have a sign potentially saying, you know, I'm hearing impaired, you know, I need sign language, and they won't put their handcuffs on. But at the same time, you know, police have to justify why we put handcuffs on. And if they might see that person is quite irate and a bit aggressive and might get a bit physical, they do that. But it could get quite confusing too, because if police aren't trained and they see someone using their hands, they might not see that as like a language. They might see that as some sort of physical confrontation. But like I said, it's just that education and awareness that we need to teach them. But yeah. So.
The other thing too, we try to explain to him, me as a support worker, tried to explain to him that he can't communicate because he was still in cufflinks. So, and it was quite some time before they allowed that to happen. And then when the police realised that, you know, that communication wasn't happening because he was, you know, all caught up and arrested, communication started to happen once they took those off.
Yeah, it is very hard, and you know, like I said, it's just a lack of education and awareness. So, and
yeah, I think what they need to do is put the cufflinks on their ankles so they can still sign. Okay, thank you everybody. Just got one more question. I'm just talking about traffic. What I wanted to know was, you know, you've got the white lines, you know, whether you can park or what you can do. It's right on the edge of the road, and then you've got the centre of the road. But the white line where you can park, if you sort of get stuck because somebody wants to make a right-hand turn, am I able to put my blinker on and overtake them on the left side so that they can comfortably make that right turn and I can proceed on?
so if there's that line in the middle, just a single line, it's just one single line, or if it's a double line, the middle line, you can never cross on the other side of the road.
No, he's talking about when on the left-hand side, you know, on the left-hand side where everybody parks the car, you know how there's a line there, so people have to park within that perimeter.
Oh yes, you can do. Yes.
So if somebody's making a right-hand turn and he wants to go past him, is it okay if he nudges onto that white line?
As long as there's no car park,
Yeah.
it's safe.
That's that's fine. Sorry, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Okay, so thank you for your coming for your presentation. It's been very informative and it's been great listening to all the things that you've had to tell us, and thank you for answering all the questions. And we do have brochures and booklets on the table that you're welcome to. But the photo may be better up the back. If you wish to take the photo, it might be a better photo opportunity up the back.
And I would like to say,
And also thank you to the interpreters.
Yes.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending and being a great audience. And like I said, thank you for the interpreters for coming out, and hopefully you've gained something today. So.
Yeah, can I say, we have learned a lot today, and the questions that you posed, we'll be taking it back, and we'll get some response for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
What time was it?